Buenas noches, bienvenidos al Cinematógrafo. Hoy tenemos un programa especial porque se lo vamos a dedicar a Nathan Silver. ¿Quién es Nathan Silver? Es la promesa del cine independiente. Roger le va a hacer una entrevista exclusiva. Vamos a cubrir todo el programa con este director. Estrenó recientemente en Rotterdam y además en el Bafisi. Y sería como para que se ubiquen un poco el nuevo Cassavetes del cine. Un cineasta personal, un cineasta singular, un cineasta diferente. Y el programa es dedicado a él.
Za to, što ne znam plakati, pevaju čiju mreću.
I love it. It reminds me of Song of Love is a sad song.
Yeah.
You know that? I really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Bueno, aquí estamos en un improvisado set, naturalmente, es el departamento donde estamos con Nathan Silver, que es uno de los invitados estelares que tiene el Festival de Olhar do Cinema aquí en Curitiba, en Brasil. Para mí, una de las nuevas caras del cine estadounidense independiente, el cine independiente desde mi punto de vista verdaderamente independiente. Se había transformado el término cine independiente estadounidense en una forma de enunciación sin ningún tipo de significado. Pero creo que con la aparición de Silver en particular hay una nueva forma de poder retomar la vieja idea que había surgido quizás en el cine de John Cassavetes, por ejemplo, el primer Jarmusch u otros directores de esa naturaleza estética que tuvo los Estados Unidos. Para mí es un verdadero honor tenerlo a Nathan y vamos a hablar un poco sobre sus películas. You just started your career in 2009. That was the first film. A film that you are not so proud of it, or you have some doubts. I don't understand exactly why. I think it's quite clear that The Blind. It's a film which is quite different from the others, but it's your first film. Let's start talking about that, which is a kind of difference between the films that are coming next. Because first, it's a couple situation. It's a film which is more formalist than the others.
Absolutely.
And so, why you have decided to make a film about a couple which never, in a way, are together, and there is a voiceover at the beginning and at the very end,
yes,
that inside frame the whole symbolic universe of that couple?
I mean, I think that I wanted to use voiceover. At the time, I was like heavily into Rousseau on one hand. And on the other hand, I was into Douglas Sirk and a lot of melodramas, big Hollywood. So I wanted to marry the minimalism with that kind of the Douglas Sirk titles, and also I realized I was watching a lot of Ozu. I think I was just taking from a lot of places in the way he would use Hollywood-like music in his films against these very minimalist, setups.
It is quite well. Now I'm very happy because people don't know, but I sent it an interview. I wrote an interview,
yes,
and when I was writing the interview, I was thinking in those references. Now you're confirming me. There is a special way of framing in the film, which now I can understand for sure. The way that the people behave in the film, the drama, the way that the actors behave reminds me a little bit of Rousseau. Why those particularly signs in your film? And it's quite clear that there is something about Douglas Sirk, even the music, even the titles.
I believe the titles were taken from Imitation of Life, or I can't remember if it was Imitation of Life. It was one of the movies it wasn't Imitation of Life. It was All That Heaven Allows. I think we took directly the font. But I don't think I succeeded in that film. That's why I feel slightly ashamed of it, and also the fact that I didn't have. I had this crew of 30 people, and I felt completely lost during the whole shoot. And it was basically, we ended up shooting 12 days spread out over a month and a half. So it it was a very difficult shoot. And afterwards, I started to question what I wanted to actually do making movies, and if I couldn't continue along this line with a 30-person crew where I had people glaring at me, crew members who I had no idea who they were, and I just wasn't comfortable in any way, and I realized I was just taking from films I admired rather than trying to explore what was actually around me and what was in my life.
And then the big change is Exit Elena.
Yes.
So that is a film that you conceive, you are happy with the outcome of
Yes.
that. Which there are some resemblance, and at the same time there is a departure from that.
Yeah.
Since the very beginning, even in The Blind, also in Exit Elena, you put a lot of attention in two things. One, people having meals, the conversation, which are always rich in terms of what they are saying, but they're not essential. Like if there was a lack of succeed when people talk, why are you interested in first to show people having meals, because it's a pattern which repeats during the whole films you have there, and then the way people communicate each other, which it seems to be it's not a successful way of interaction.
Well, I think, simply put, the reason I have meals in the movies, it comes from the fact that people are forced to be together when they sit down to eat, and they're forced to confront all the things that are. Everything comes up at a meal. When I was growing up, there would always be fights at meals because you're forced to sit around the table, and you can't leave until you're done with the meal. So I like that. It basically sets the characters down, and they have to interact with each other, and all the tensions come up. And then when we were shooting Exit Elena, we only shot with one camera, and because all of the dialogue was improvised, the cameraman didn't know what was going to happen, and we had a homemade dolly, so it wasn't handheld. I think 4 minutes of the movie is actually handheld camera, the rest is actually on sticks and a homemade dolly. So basically he was pretty confined his movement was confined by the dolly, and so he would just have to track across all the faces, and he wouldn't necessarily pick up the lines of dialogue that were essential for the story. So when we were cutting it, Cody, who came on towards the end of the edit to really finish it off, pointed out that it was basically always about the character listening or watching rather than the character talking or the character reacting. And that became the MO for Soft in the Head and On Certain Terms and Sinking Heaven. It became about watching people react. And it's far more fascinating. It's like, I'd rather watch someone, if say a mother is going to kick her son out of the house, I'd much rather see the son's reaction than the mother screaming at the son.
Yeah, that is something that is immediately perceived in your films.
Yes.
The way that you follow a conversation is not the usual model of following a conversation. And as you have said also, people are usually having meals and they speak and they talk. So that is something which is extremely interesting. It is not always improvised what your character said in all your films, or there?
The Blind was fully scripted.
Yeah.
So after The Blind, Exit Elena, all of the dialogue is improvised. There was a script, but we threw the script out. With Soft in the Head, all the dialogue was improvised. With Uncertain Terms, we would feed the actors lines because there was far less preparation for that one. With Exit Elena and Soft in the Head, there were months of preparation. I had time to really develop the characters of the actors. But with Uncertain Terms, we only had a few weeks. So it took more scripting. And then with Sinking Heaven, it was all improvised.
And there is something that I also really admire in your films, that most of the films, American films, usually they don't pay attention not only in meals, but also when people are working. Exit Elena is the life of a new, how do you call it?
Live-in aide, a nurse.
Yeah, a nurse. So that is, for me, is fascinating that you are portraying people working, people who are middle lower class, I guess. In the United States, even Argentina could be lower class, but in the United States it's that. So why are you interested in that particular part of society, that members of society, and that way of being in reality, which is through working. Because it's not usual, in American films, people working is most of the time is off screen, except if you are a police.
Well, I guess it plays into. It also plays into the fact why there are intergenerational casts where, because that's how life is. People work. There are people of many ages. You're not just surrounded by people your own age, or you're not just following one age group. So if you want to show life, you show people doing the things they do and interacting with the people they interact with. I guess the reason why, like in Exit Elena, it was about a live-in aid is because.
All right, for me. All right, it's my fault. Just do it for me. All right. Take them to Barbara's.
Fine.
Good.
Fine.
Thank you.
It's my home.
Obviously, we can't have Barb and the kids come because Jim has a meeting that's going to lead to nothing as usual, but since it's an office and not a home anymore, I'll just empty the pool, put all the toys away, we'll go to Barbara's. Would you be willing to come and swim with the kids at her pool?
When I was growing up, my grandmother had a nurse's aide, and she would spend more time with my grandmother than with her own family, and was a part of the family. And so I found it very strange, that whole dynamic. And so we brought that into the movie. And the whole reason there was a homeless shelter in Soft in the Head is because Ed Ryan, who played Maury, used to help out at homeless shelters, and we started talking about what kind of thing he would want to run. So it comes from the people I'm working with and from experiences from my own life of people I've met. And those are, for whatever reason, I found them attractive. I'm not sure that there's anything beyond just an intuitive leap that I want. I gravitate towards that.
There's often something that on one hand you have people working or people who are not working but they are defined by not working. But also there is a question of small communities in your film. In Soft in the Head you have two, in fact. The Jewish family, which there is in a way they're all together. The Christian guy who are with the people who are not working, two communities. It's quite clear in uncertain terms that there are a couple of young girls, they are not even adults and they are pregnant, they are all living together. Of course, the Stinking Heaven, which is directly the life of a community. Again, it's something which is not usually the main focus in cinema. It's not the main focus in American cinema, except if you are following an army. That there is. So why you are interested in that dynamics, between different people? Of course, you have something which is very specific and important in your film, which is the intergenerational community. There are people from different ages. So I'm interested in knowing why you are interested in.
I'm obsessed with the idea of family and what it actually means to be in a family, simply because of how fractured my family is. I'm very close with my parents and my brother, but outside of that, I have very little to do with all those people. But so I create these film sets which are like families, and I guess that's just for whatever reason I want to understand how people come together and what they do, and then what happens when a strange element enters into a community that's already been established. I think there's something about that. I feel like it came to its natural conclusion with Stinking Heaven because there is no main character. The character is the house. You're not following. You think it's going to be Anne, but then she just falls and she becomes part of the house, and all the destruction, all the havoc she wreaks, it's part of it. We're not focused on her. We're focused. She comes in and out of focus along with other characters.
Well, the very, very last shot of the film is one of the characters looking at the house.
Exactly.
As a main character.
So I feel like this period is over of exploring these communities, but I think it started with the fact that as soon as you put two people in a room, there's going to be an issue. When you put three people in a room, it's going to be a bigger issue. When you put four, it just grows exponentially worse, and so tensions naturally arise, and I think it leads to something about human behavior, how to deal with each other, how to love each other, and that's what fascinates me. So, and I think that it's for some reason exploring that within a community, it's exaggerated because you're dealing with many people at once. So So you're not just dealing with another person. Although in the next few films I'm planning, it's all about one-on-one, or not one-on-one, but it's about like, The Perverts is about a friendship. This other one, Lovers Without Faces, is this strange coming-of-age tale of this girl in Paris. And then I'm doing a movie about a couple over a period of time, so I'm trying to focus on actually have a main...
And then kind of dynamics in relationship, more one-on-one.
Yeah.
There is a shift now.
But now the chaos and the insanity is going to come from the way the story is told rather than the chaos of the community. So it's going to come from unreliable narrators and non-linear editing, and I'm doing all of these other things to sort of bring chaos onto the table.
Recuerda que nos puedes encontrar en Facebook. Estamos como el Cinematógrafo Programa de Televisión. Ahí nos puedes dejar tus comentarios, sugerencias, fijarte porque Roger cuelga su propio blog que se llama Con los Ojos Abiertos y ahí diariamente tiene críticas muy interesantes sobre el devenir del cine actual. Ahí vos también puedes interactuar con nosotros y nos podemos encontrar más personalmente. También, si te perdiste algún programa, estamos en YouTube y lo buscas como el Cinematógrafo Programa de Televisión. Y los viernes a nivel nacional por 360 TV. Son los viernes a las 11:30 de la noche. Todas las posibilidades para ver el Cinematógrafo. Quiero agradecer especialmente a María Belén Fontana, Makeup Artist, que es quien nos maquilla todos los jueves, y a Tienda Sixo, que es quien viste a Roger. Ahora quédate con nosotros porque seguimos con más Nathan Silver.
¿Te acordás que hace poco te contamos que los consumidores íbamos a estar mucho más protegidos? Es porque ya implementamos un nuevo sistema de solución de conflictos. Si tuviste problemas con algo que compraste o con un servicio que contrataste y la empresa no te dio una respuesta adecuada, ahora tenés Consumo Protegido. ¿Cómo funciona? Te comunicas con Consumo Protegido y vas a una conciliación donde la empresa, vos y un conciliador van a buscar llegar a un acuerdo para solucionar tu problema. Es gratis para vos y obligatorio para la empresa. Y como el conciliador es especialista en temas de consumo, no hace falta que vayas con un abogado. ¿Viste qué fácil? Los consumidores ya estamos más protegidos. Más información al 0800-666-1518 o www.consumoprotegido.gov.ar. Consumo Protegido, siempre de tu lado. ¿Quiénes deben vacunarse contra la gripe? Embarazadas, mamás antes de egresar de la maternidad, niños entre 6 y 24 meses, personas con enfermedades crónicas u obesidad, personal de salud y mayores de 65 años. Para ellos, la vacuna es gratuita en centros de salud y hospitales públicos de todo el país. Vacunate. Es bueno para vos. Es bueno para todos. 0800-222-1002.
En todo el país, con una respuesta para cada necesidad. Auto, moto, hogar, praxis, caución. Triunfo Vida Más. Triunfo Seguros. Humberto Primo 630. Complejo Capitalinas. Córdoba. 0810-333-3838. triunfoseguros.com.
Argentina es tu mundo. Date una vuelta.